I'm joined with Lowest of the Low in the trailer, and you guys played in Kingston last night.
We did, yeah.
Right? You didn't bring the warm weather here to Fergus, Ontario.
Actually, we brought better weather than what was there. It was just
it was horrible
with rain this morning.
Oh, really?
Freezing.
We're here at the Meadows Music Festival in Fergus, Ontario. So, how you guys feeling? You guys got new music, right?
We do. We just released a new record, so we're pumped about that. That's we're ready to go.
That just dropped earlier this month, right?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, it came out later than we wanted it to. We wanted it to come out last October, but our record label is afraid of our prolific output.
Right.
So they were like, whoa, cool your jets, maybe next May. So that's why it's out now. And we've just been pumping out songs. This unit of the band, reminds me of the very first 1.0 unit of Lowest of the Low, which was like, everybody on the same mission statement, everybody pointing in the same direction. So it makes for, it inspires me as a songwriter, and then we've been writing together as a band in the rehearsal space, which is new, is new for us. So
right on, yeah, because I was going to say I think Dana, my partner, she interviewed you just a couple years ago, and you had new music then.
Yeah.
So you guys have been, busy.
I think we've had something pretty much every year for the last, 4 or 5 years, be it that, including a box set that Warner Canada made of our careers, and then a live album in between the studio albums. So yeah, we've been pretty busy. Right
on. So tell me a little bit more about this new album. It's fresh off. I think I've heard, listened to some of it. You said you guys have been inspired. So what?
I think sort of anecdotally,
particularly it inspired this one. Yeah.
Yeah, anecdotally from people that I'm talking to, it's uplifting and upbeat and sort of fresh. Like we got in a sort of a zone where we were writing a lot of socio-political stuff and stuff that was pissing us off, and there's clearly lots of it. So we got in the sort of punky ska attack zone of broadsides against what's going on in the world and everything, and so that's the last couple of records were like that. And then I don't know, it was all very organic. It's not like we sat down and thought, hey, let's lighten it up a bit or maybe make it more poppy, but it seems like there are more choruses on this record. It's kind of a little more poppy, maybe a few more earworms, although I feel like that's our territory generally. But and then the lyrics are mostly kind of either love songs or extensions of the idea of like positivity in the world,
Oh, not loudly. Okay, I'm out.
Hey, Johnny B, that's John Brooks.
It's over.
So how's it going?
It's going good.
So we expect interviews to be a little bit disruptive at festivals, right? Yeah, we're in the trailer, so yeah, right on. But you said too. So this group of the band's been about what 5-6 years,
maybe 7
years now.
I think it's 7 or 6 or 7. Something.
Yeah, so that's that's got to be great creatively to have a group that's all on the same page. And you guys are taking advantage of that, I guess, right? And putting that.
It's the kind of thing that you can't artificially put together. Like it's I think the 6 years has really hammered this in the forge. Everybody gets along, and I don't remember it ever being a giant ego fest in Lowest of the Low, because we always had this idea that we never wanted to be rock stars, so we weren't really shooting for that in the first place. But if there were egos, they are certainly rounded off a little bit more, and our band sort of works where it seems to work, like best idea wins. After maybe a little bit of debate and fighting about it, that's healthy debate and fighting about it. But yeah. So best idea wins, and everybody is fully invested in putting ideas in. So it makes for some great stuff and some some left turns, pardon the pun, because what I think a song might be when I bring it in as a song, we sometimes reinterpret them. I mean, they always go through the Lowest of the Low arrangement session to be low songs, but sometimes they'll take broad turns when other people get their mitts on them, and
let the music lead you to where it's supposed to go, I guess, right?
And then listen, that's the thing, everybody's listening to, so listen to what's happening and let it carry you to hopefully the right destination.
Over the last few years, you spent a lot of time in studio recording, but here at a music festival in Fergus, how has that been translating to the live stage and the live shows with the new music?
Yeah, I don't think we've done a festival yet with the new stuff, but this will be the first one probably. But in the bars, it's been going really well. I mean, one perfect example of it is that we have this Mount Rushmore of Shakes From My Butt that we have to deal with every show, because people, that's the nostalgic album attached to our band, and people grew up with that, and we're in university, and they were all free and excited, and so we're constantly sort of fighting with those songs. Our new songs are in a knife fight with those old songs. And you know, and often it's hard to win that battle, but these songs seem to be getting the same kind of reactions immediately, you know, for people who haven't really lived with the album for very long.
Right.
And they seem to be getting the same kind of applause and people singing the words. And on this tour, we've noticed a lot of kids, like a lot of people maybe that are just literally this year just old enough to get to bars, coming out to shows and actually knowing the lyrics to some of the recent records and the older records. Because, you know, and for us, that's cool because they don't have that 1991 experience, you know?
Right.
So all the records, I assume, kind of live in the same world for them, and they just cherry pick the songs they like, as opposed to that one being the monument.
Right, exactly. And how important is for you? Obviously, I'm assuming it is, but as an artist, you know, having success in the past and having some well-known songs, well-known music, but not just you know, going on some greatest hits tour, but constantly creating new. That has to be important to you guys, right?
Yeah, it's the only important thing, to be honest with you. And the fact that, you know, we've all in different ways had solo situations or done a lot of work in collaboration with other people. You know, I produced records with other people, and so that's all, you know, that's all you get to step out for a while, learn some things, and bring those things back into your toolkit in the band.
I remember too when Dana chatted with you, I think you guys talked a little bit about, you know, different art that you do. So you're really big into painting and creating that way. You're still doing that? Still into that?
Yeah, of course, yeah. And not just me, but David, our drummer, David Alexander, went to OCAD, so he's been doing that since he was a teenager. And Greg, our bass player, Greg Smith, he is a visual artist as well. And everybody in the band is very visual and very artistic, but myself, Greg, and Dave are the three actual working painters and visual artists.
Right on.
It's going to be warmer up there.
Perfect. So now, being at a festival like this, what, you know, this isn't your first rodeo. I'm sure you've played shows like this before. You played lots of shows, but what is it like for you guys to come to a festival like this? Lots of other bands kind of around. What do you try to take away from being at a show like this?
Well, it really exercises your ability to, you know, you were talking about chaos, like that's what it is. It's somewhat controlled chaos at a festival, and it's like, you know, throw it up and go. Like, you don't have a sound check, you don't have the usual things you would lean on to get your sound exactly right and be comfortable. So you have to be willing to live in the discomfort a little bit of that rush. But again, rush in both senses of the word, because it is exciting to do.
Do you try to mingle? Do you look forward to trying to meet other bands or talk to them?
Yeah. I mean, you know, for the most part, we know a lot of them, just from, you know, Toronto specifically and Canada itself. They're not, you know, the community is pretty small and tight, you know, so you generally have run across all these bands somewhere before, and you know each other. Right. Doff the hat, and, you know.
Yeah. Trade stories.
Hang out in each other's trailers. And,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's important today too with the wind and the cold, right? But no, with the new album, Ron, what's next for Lowest of the Low? I'm taking it Fergus and the Meadows Music Festival isn't going to be the only show of the year now that you have a new album, right?
Yeah, we've polished off a few shows already. Record came out in early May, and we started in mid-April, so we've been doing shows since then. We've got some more shows through the summer, you know, right out through the rest of the year. We'll be touring this record and probably making some more videos and stuff like that. And we've also got a bunch of stuff in the can already for the next record. We've already kind of got our eyes open.
So a constant continuing just growing on to the next one, right?
Never-ending party. Yeah.
Right on. No, that's cool. So how you know, while you're on the road and when you're in a place like this, like is this somewhere where are you jotting notes down? And get inspired to write while you're on the road, or when you're touring around, or is that more of a separate?
No,
put the shows aside and then you focus on the
separate
other
thing now. Like back in the day, like as I say, 1.0 Lowest of the Low, we were in a van. You know, we had years where we clocked like 250 shows in a year, right? So that made it absolutely incumbent upon me to be able to write in hotel rooms and in a van and at sound checks and stuff like that. Now, because we all have kids and we're older and we've done all of that, and also the industry itself has changed in a way that there just aren't 250 shows a year to do. You know, we're more like out for 3-day weekends and back. So we have much more foundational relationships at home where we can, you know. So I generally we'll learn stuff out on the road and then, you know, make mental notes of it and come back and work in our jam space. We have a regular Monday rehearsal space in Toronto, so usually that's where we start kicking out the jams and figuring stuff out.
Gotcha. So so you guys have been doing this for a while and continuously creating, which I think is admirable. How do you keep that spark? Is that just it's something that's in you? Do you envision you're just gonna, that's always gonna be there, and you're just gonna carry on, with that spark?
Knock on trailer wood, knock on whatever that is, MDF,
wood-looking plastic or whatever.
Yeah, I think what it is we just have a group of people, because I will admit to you that in the process of the arc of the whole career of Lowest to the Low, I think there have been a couple of times where we've found ourselves a bit rudderless and kind of like wheels in the rut a little bit, not knowing exactly. Like I remember around the release of Sordid Fiction in 2004, there was an initial spark, but then there was a little bit of I think we started to wonder who we were, sort of like lost touch of who we are. And that's not the case now. Like right now we're very in it and right in the present moment. And I think you're just a bunch of people, a bunch of grown men who still have access to feeling like they did when they were 16.
Right.
And this medium of indie rock and punk rock or whatever you want to call it is really conducive to that, because it keeps you, there's a physical aspect to it. There's an emotional aspect to it. Mm-hmm. And you just learn to be, you learn to savor those things that are important when you're a kid. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you mentioned kids, and you mentioned you guys have kids now, but it was also interesting. You said, with your shows, you're seeing young people that know your old music that are showing up now and know their new stuff. How does that make you feel? I guess, when you're going in to create new music, that you have a different audience, that you have a younger audience, and being parents and that sort of thing. Do you feel that? How does that draw into, when you're creating?
Well, I think it's a funny thing, because I think there's two aspects to it, which is, there's this idea, like if we can believe certain socio-historical documentaries, like teenagers was a created thing. Like teenagers didn't exist until the 50s or 60s or whatever, and it was sort of created almost as a marketing ploy to, and it's weird that has sort of hung on forever, that young, teenagers in the early 20s, that's your market. Those are the important people. And it's like, those people don't have any money. I don't know where that started,
right?
But it's like, it's like there's this sense that they are the tastemakers, they know what's happening. And I don't think that's true, but I think there's a certain energy that's important about that. And so when any band is able to get another generation of fans coming out and they see that energy in their faces, with so many other bands to compete for their attention, it's, you feel pretty blessed, and then, darkly and jokingly, it's like, well, now we go like, so now if some of those fans can die off, we don't, we can replace them, so we don't have to worry so much about.
Right. I gotta ask you this too. So I have two daughters. Actually, it's my tomorrow is my youngest daughter's 18th birthday, so she's going away to school next year. Super exciting time, but I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll think I'm really funny. I'll have something really funny to say, and I'll be met with eye rolls. Right, so I'll have to ask you this, creating music, do you ever go to your kids for feedback? Do you ever show them an idea and be like, hey, what do you think about this?
Oh yeah, 100%, because I'm in a lucky position as a dad in that my daughter doesn't think I'm lame, and we share certain musical, it's a kind of a revolving door and a two-way street. Like, I brought her stuff like The Clash and Tom Waits and people like that, and she's brought me people like, Boy Genius, and Jesse Wells is a person she wants to go see, and she became a Phil Oakes fan, which is so bizarre because I was a Phil Oakes fan when I was 15 or 16, and almost everybody I know, if I mention Phil Oakes, or if I'm in a crowd and I go, hey, you guys know who Phil Oakes is? People my age, most people don't know who he is. He's a pretty niche political folk artist, and Jesse Wells is a young guy walking in those footsteps. So there's this crossover of what she brings to me and what I bring to her, and we just talk about art, music, and stuff like that all the time. So, and of course I'm her dad, so I have to tease her a lot. So I think I got her into the Jesse Wells show that's coming up in October with a phone call, which I don't normally do, but the tickets were going fast, and she was quite surprised about that, and I got to say, I'm kind of a big deal. So I get to do that. And
you got to prove it though. You were walking the walk and talking the talk, right?
It still gets an eye roll though. Deservedly so.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you did it, you would think something's wrong, I guess, right? So yeah. Well, Ron, I tell you what, you probably have your show to prepare for. Looking forward to seeing you at the Meadows Music Festival. Looking forward to putting your new album on rotation in my earbuds. But thank you very much for the time today.
Right on, man. Thank you so much.